welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to kind of take a journey into security automation.
Oh, cool.
We've got some really interesting sources for this one.
Okay.
We've got, like, insights from a security researcher.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a white paper on best practices for automation.
Nice.
And even a document that's making some pretty bold claims about the future of SOCAR. Like, is SOCAR dead?
Really?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Wow.
Oh, and we're also going to talk about this really cool thing called continuous automated red teaming, or CART.
CART?
Yeah, CART. And we'll also learn how compliance automation can actually help you prove your security to stakeholders.
Interesting.
So get ready to discover how automation can, not just be a buzzword, but really transform the way you approach security in your organization.
I think what's so fascinating about all these sources is they really highlight how, the speed and sophistication of attacks today are forcing organizations to, fundamentally shift how they think about security. You know what I mean? Manual responses just can't keep up.
Right.
It's not possible anymore.
It's too fast.
Yeah, and we need to move beyond just reacting to security incidents all the time and start being more proactive.
Totally.
And a big part of that is automation.
Yeah. And that feeling of being overwhelmed by all the security alerts and threats all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Larry Seltzer, he's a top security researcher.
Okay.
And he's saying, attacks are happening so fast that manual responses just don't cut it anymore.
Right.
It's he said, it's like trying to fight a wildfire with a garden hose.
Wow. Yeah.
You're just not going to win that battle.
No, you're not.
And to make matters worse,
yeah, we've
got this SAND survey that says that almost 60% of organizations are using more than 10 different security tools.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot to manage.
That is a lot.
No wonder so many organizations are struggling with this.
Yeah.
In fact, that same survey found that 68% of organizations are saying that they struggle to implement SOCAR. Yeah, SR, which is supposed to help with this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But they're struggling because of the huge engineering effort involved.
That makes sense, yeah.
So it seems like we need a way to, streamline and automate security.
Yeah.
Not make it more complex.
Definitely. And that's where I think this white paper, Best Practices for Automating Security Operations Workflows, this is where it comes in, right?
Okay.
The key takeaway here is don't just automate your messy manual processes.
Right.
Don't just take what you're doing manually and try to slap some automation on it.
Got it.
We have to rethink these security workflows from the beginning.
From an automation first perspective.
Exactly.
Okay, so instead of just putting a Band-Aid on a broken system,
right,
we need to rebuild the system, thinking about automation from the ground up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
That's a big shift, though.
It is a big shift, but it's necessary.
Okay.
I think, the white paper outlines 7 best practices to kind of guide this whole transformation.
Okay.
And for example, it really stresses the need to define and document incident response processes clearly.
So you're saying having a plan.
Having a plan, yeah.
For when things go wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not just a one-time thing, right?
Right.
You need to be constantly reviewing these processes, updating them as needed, as, your organization changes, as the threats change.
So it's got to be like a living document.
Exactly. It's got to be flexible, adaptable,
Okay.
to keep pace with, how quickly things change.
The landscape.
Yeah, the threat landscape. Exactly.
Always changing.
Always changing.
Okay, so what else is in this white paper?
So another thing they talk about is creating what they call atomic playbooks.
Atomic playbooks.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds kind of cool.
It is pretty cool.
What are those?
So think of them as modular building blocks for automation. They're small reusable scripts that you can combine together to create these more complex workflows.
Oh.
It's kind of like Lego bricks for security automation.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lego bricks.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to build this huge, massive, automation system,
right,
you can build these smaller pieces and assemble them how you need.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do we even know if these automations are working?
That's a great question.
How do we measure if they're actually effective?
And that's why the white paper talks about KPIs. Key performance indicators.
Right. Yeah, of course.
You got to define those.
Okay.
You got to track them to make sure that, these automations are actually improving your security posture.
So it's not just about automating for the sake of automating.
No, it's got to be purposeful.
It's about Like making sure it's actually making a difference.
Exactly. And being able to like prove that it's making a difference.
Show the value.
Yeah, show the value to stakeholders.
Okay, so we've talked about like why this is important. We've talked about some best practices, but like what does this actually look like in practice?
Yeah, let's get into some use cases.
Yeah, give me an example.
All right, so imagine your security team is just like drowning in malware samples.
Okay.
Right? They're coming in from everywhere.
Like they just can't keep up.
They can't keep up. And like if they try to analyze each one manually, it's going to take forever. And they're going to make mistakes.
Humans make mistakes.
Humans make mistakes, exactly.
All right, so where does automation come in?
So automation can take over a lot of those tasks, right?
Okay.
Like gathering data from the malware samples, correlating that data with, threat intelligence feeds, and even initiating a response.
Like what?
Like isolating an infected machine.
Oh, wow.
Automatically.
So it can actually take action.
It can take action.
Okay.
Based on what it finds.
So that frees up the analysts to like actually do the stuff that requires a human.
Exactly. The more complex stuff, the more interesting stuff.
So they can like get ahead of the curve instead of always playing catch up.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, I like it.
And we can even take this a step further, right?
Okay.
We can integrate automation earlier in the development lifecycle.
Oh, interesting.
Like we can actually build security into the applications as they're being created.
Like from the ground up.
From the ground up, yeah.
So like what would that look like?
Well, for example, we can automate things like code analysis, vulnerability scanning, even security testing. And we can do all of that within the CI/CD pipeline.
So it's like, shifting left, right.
Shifting left, exactly.
Like doing security earlier in the process
exactly.
instead of waiting till the end.
It's all about being proactive.
Proactive, yeah.
Right. Instead of just reacting to things after they happen.
Yeah. Getting ahead of it. Yeah. Getting ahead of it. Exactly.
Like that.
And this is even more important, right? When you think about all the endpoints we have to manage these days.
Oh my gosh, the endpoints.
The endpoints, it's crazy.
It's like everyone's working from home, everyone's got their own devices.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare to try to keep track of it all.
It is, and to make sure everything is secure.
And secure.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can use automation to help us with that.
Okay.
We can streamline things like endpoint scans, patch management, software updates, all those things that are essential to making sure every device is protected no matter where it is.
So it's like having
I like that, yeah.
That's like constantly patrolling your entire IT environment.
Yeah.
Like patching vulnerabilities, keeping those attackers at bay.
Exactly.
I love it.
And while we're talking about like common attack vectors, we can't forget about phishing.
Phishing?
It's still a huge problem. It's crazy. It's like those phishing emails are getting so sophisticated.
I know, right?
It's almost impossible to tell the real ones from the fakes.
It is. And that's why, this SANS survey found that over half of organizations have already automated their phishing response processes.
Really?
Yeah. They're using automation to analyze suspicious emails.
Okay.
Quarantine them, even alert users about potential threats.
All automatic.
All automatically.
So it's like, having a super-powered spam filter.
Yeah.
That's constantly learning,
adapting,
revolving to stay ahead of those sneaky phishing tactics.
Exactly.
Nice.
So we've talked about a lot of different ways that automation can help, right?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But now, for a little bit of a controversial twist.
Go like a twist.
There's a document we have that's claiming SOAR is dead.
SOAR is dead.
SOAR is dead.
Wow. That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement.
But I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So while SOAR has been like a popular approach to security automation, right?
Yeah.
It can be like rigid and reliant on these like proprietary connectors, which can limit its effectiveness and its scalability.
So it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like you're trying to force a tool to do something it wasn't really meant to do.
Exactly. And that's why this document is suggesting that hyper-automation may be the next evolution.
Hyper-automation.
Hyper-automation.
Okay, another buzzword to add to the list.
I know.
But what is it?
So hyper-automation is a more flexible and agile way to automate across your entire security stack.
Okay.
Right. It breaks down those silos between different security tools and processes, and it enables seamless orchestration and automation.
So, like, instead of just automating individual tasks,
right,
you're automating entire workflows.
Entire workflows, entire processes.
Across the whole infrastructure.
Across the whole infrastructure.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is powerful.
Okay, so this isn't just like a theoretical concept, right?
No, it's not.
Like, this is actually happening.
Yeah, this document actually mentions a specific solution called Torque HyperSOC.
Torque HyperSOC.
Yeah, as an example of how this can be implemented.
Interesting. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, it's worth looking into.
All right, so we've talked about SOPAR, we've talked about hyperautomation, but now I want to talk about something else that's pretty cool.
Okay, what's that?
Continuous automated red teaming. CART, yeah.
That's the good one.
It's a game changer when it comes to proactive security.
Totally.
It's like having a dedicated team of ethical hackers that are constantly testing your defenses.
Yeah.
Like looking for weaknesses before the bad guys do.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
It's like having a personal trainer.
Oh, I like that analogy.
For your security team.
Okay. Yeah.
Pushing them to be better, faster, stronger.
Right.
But instead of lifting weights, they're battling virtual attackers.
I love it.
And one of the platforms that's doing this really well is Fire Compass.
Fire Compass, yeah, they're good.
They go beyond traditional penetration testing.
Right.
Which is often just like a periodic snapshot.
Exactly, just once in a while.
Yeah, like once a year you get this report, but things change so fast.
Way too slow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so CART gives you this continuous feedback so you can adjust and improve your defenses in real time.
That's what you need, real-time visibility.
It's like having a constant stream of security assessment.
So
you always know where you're vulnerable and you can take action to fix it.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late, yeah.
Exactly.
That's huge.
It is huge, especially in today's threat landscape.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah.
But we also have this article here about compliance automation.
Okay.
And I know compliance might not sound as exciting as battling cyber attackers.
Right.
But it's just as important.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's something that can be greatly enhanced with automation. It's often seen as this bureaucratic burden.
Oh, yeah.
Like a necessary evil.
Paperwork.
Yeah. But Dr. Michael Lanham, he's got this article.
Okay.
Where he makes this really compelling case for viewing compliance as a way to actually prove security.
Prove security.
Yeah. To build trust and demonstrate your commitment to protecting sensitive information.
Okay, I like that.
It's a totally different way of thinking about compliance.
It is, yeah.
It's instead of seeing it as something you have to do,
yeah,
you can see it as something you want to do.
Because it makes you more secure.
Exactly.
And it builds trust.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
And automation can play a key role in making this happen.
Absolutely. So, how does that work?
Well, imagine being able to automatically generate compliance reports.
Okay.
Gather evidence and track your progress against regulatory requirements. That would streamline the entire compliance process.
Yeah.
Free up your team to focus on more strategic initiatives.
More of the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Less of the paperwork.
And it would also reduce the risk of human error.
Right.
Humans make mistakes.
All the time.
And so it would ensure that you're meeting those deadlines and staying ahead of those potential audits.
That's huge, yeah.
And let's not forget about the potential cost savings.
Oh, yeah, the money.
Compliance violations, those can lead to hefty fines.
They get fined.
Penalties, not to mention, reputational damage.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So automating those compliance processes can actually help you avoid those costly consequences and protect your organization's reputation.
It's all about risk mitigation, right?
Totally.
Showing your stakeholders that you're taking security seriously.
Like putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about why automation is so important. We've talked about some best practices for implementation. We've looked at how automation can be used in specific areas like malware analysis, endpoint security, phishing response.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
We even dipped our toes into the world of hyperautomation and continuous automated red teaming.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's clear that automation is no longer just a nice to have.
Right.
It's an essential part of operationalizing effective security.
Especially in 2024 and beyond.
Exactly.
I think what's so interesting is how, those two areas that we often think of as separate security and compliance,
right,
they're actually two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Lanham was saying, viewing compliance as provable security.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a really powerful concept.
It is.
And we can use automation to achieve both objectives at the same time.
It's like breaking down the silos, right?
Breaking down the silos.
Creating a more holistic and integrated approach.
Exactly.
To security and compliance.
Yeah. Working smarter, not harder.
It's about building a more resilient organization,
Yeah.
One that can withstand those cyberstorms.
Yeah.
And emerge even stronger on the other side.
I love it.
But before we go any further, let's take a closer look at some of the specific insights and recommendations from our sources.
Okay.
What really stood out to you as we were going through all this material?
Well, one thing that really struck me was Larry Seltzer's point about how automation tools are often integrated into larger systems like, identity and access management, or DevSecOps tool chains.
Yeah, that makes sense. You wouldn't want your automation tools just operating in isolation.
Right, exactly. They need to be part of a larger interconnected security ecosystem.
Yeah, working together.
Working together, yeah, to create a seamless flow of information and actions across different systems.
So it's not just about automating one little piece.
Right. It's about the big picture.
It's about the whole system.
Exactly.
Okay, so what else did he say that you thought was interesting?
Oh, he also had this really interesting idea about testing new automation workflows with a guinea pig group of tech-savvy users.
Oh, I like that.
Before rolling them out to the entire organization.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's like a beta test for your security automation.
Yeah, exactly.
You get valuable feedback from real users, and you can iron out any kinks before you, deploy it to everybody.
That's a great way to minimize disruption and make sure that your automations are actually improving things.
Exactly.
Not creating more headaches.
Nobody wants more headaches.
No, for sure.
And, while we're talking about making things better, we have to address the kind of elephant in the room.
Oh, okay, which is?
Analyst burnout.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
The SOAR is dead document, they brought up some really serious concerns about that.
Yeah, security analysts are already under so much pressure.
I know, it's a tough job.
And adding more tools and complexity, is that really going to help?
That's a good point. It could actually make things worse. But, the document also argues that automation can actually help alleviate burnout.
Okay, how so?
By taking over those tedious, repetitive tasks.
Oh, so free up the analyst to actually do the interesting work.
Exactly. The stuff that requires human judgment and creativity.
The stuff that makes them want to come to work in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not about replacing analysts.
No, not at all.
It's about empowering them.
It's about giving them the tools they need to be more effective and efficient.
To do their best work.
Exactly. And by doing that, we can actually start to democratize security.
Democratize security? What do you mean by that?
I mean, making it more accessible to organizations of all sizes, even those without massive budgets or dedicated security teams.
That's a great point. Not every organization can afford to hire a whole team of cybersecurity experts.
Right, but with the right automation tools, even smaller businesses can level the playing field and protect themselves.
Against those ever-evolving threats.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is security for the people.
Security for the people. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's about making security accessible to everyone.
And it's not just about organizations either, right?
Right.
In that YouTube video, Larry Seltzer mentioned this company called Security Coach.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
That's using automation to actually train employees on security best practices.
In real time.
Yeah, in real time.
That's awesome.
It's like having a virtual security coach right there in your inbox.
I love that analogy.
Guiding you, helping you make those smart security decisions.
It's about making security awareness a natural part of everyone's workflow.
Yeah, not just something you learn about once a year during that mandatory training.
Right. It's got to be ongoing.
Ongoing, yeah. It's got to be part of the culture.
Exactly.
And when you think about it, that's really the ultimate goal, right?
It is, yeah.
To create a world where security is everyone's responsibility. And everyone has the knowledge and tools they need to stay safe online.
That's a vision worth striving for.
It is. It really is.
And while technology is a powerful enabler, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about fostering a culture of security awareness.
Yeah.
Empowering individuals to make those informed decisions about their own security.
Okay, so it's not just about the tech.
It's about the people.
It's about the people.
It's about changing the culture.
Changing the culture, yeah.
That's how we build a truly resilient digital society.
I love that. A truly resilient digital society.
That's what we're aiming for.
All right, so let's talk a bit more about that continuous automated red teaming that we touched on earlier. CART, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The Fire Compass platform sounds really interesting.
It is. It is. What sets CART apart is that it goes beyond just finding vulnerabilities.
Okay.
It actually tests your incident response processes.
Oh, interesting.
Validates your security controls.
So it's not just about finding the holes.
Right.
It's about making sure you can actually plug them.
Exactly.
When the real attacks come.
Exactly. It's about being prepared.
So you're not just like, oh, we have a vulnerability, and then, like, nothing happens.
Right. It's about taking action.
It's about actually fixing it.
Yes. And with the power of automation, you can run these CART exercises much more frequently.
Oh, okay.
So you're always up to date.
Constantly testing,
constantly improving.
That's a game changer.
It is a game changer.
It's like having that constant stream of security assessments. So you always know where you stand.
Exactly. You're always aware of your weaknesses.
And you can take action to fix them.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late, yeah.
Exactly.
That's a huge advantage in today's threat landscape.
It is a huge advantage. And let's not forget about the potential cost savings.
Oh, yeah, the money.
By automating those red teaming exercises, you're reducing the need for expensive consultants.
Right, because those guys can be pricey.
They can be pricey.
Yeah.
And it frees up your internal security teams to focus on other critical tasks.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win, absolutely.
Yeah. Especially for organizations that are already stretched thin.
Yeah, both in terms of budget and personnel.
Right, they're trying to do more with less.
Exactly.
So CART can help them level the playing field.
Level the playing field, yeah.
Get the same level of security testing as those big enterprises.
Exactly.
Without breaking the bank.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that we're talking about cost effectiveness,
yeah,
we should also highlight the financial benefits of compliance automation.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember Dr. Lanham's article?
Yes, yes.
He made a compelling case for viewing compliance as a way to mitigate risk and protect your organization's reputation.
Not just a box-checking exercise.
Exactly.
It's about being proactive.
And automation can play a key role in achieving this.
Absolutely. How so?
Well, by automating those compliance processes, organizations can reduce the risk of human error.
How?
They can ensure that they're meeting those regulatory requirements and avoid those costly fines and penalties.
That's huge.
It's like having a virtual compliance officer.
I like that, yeah.
Constantly monitoring your systems and processes.
Making sure you're following the rules.
Staying ahead of those potential audits.
That's peace of mind you can't put a price tag on.
Exactly. But let's not get too carried away with the technology here.
Okay.
It's important to remember that automation is just a tool.
It's a tool, right?
It's the people, the security professionals, who ultimately make the difference.
Couldn't agree more.
You can have the most sophisticated automation tools in the world. But if you don't have a skilled and dedicated team to manage them,
yeah,
they're not going to be very effective.
They're just going to sit there.
Exactly.
Biting dust.
So it's not about replacing people with robots.
No, not at all.
It's about giving those people the tools they need to succeed.
To do their jobs better.
To be more effective, more efficient, and ultimately happier.
Happier. Yeah, nobody wants to do those boring, repetitive tasks all day long.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to invest in training, professional development, fostering a culture of security awareness across the entire organization.
It's about creating a human firewall.
I like that, a human firewall.
A team of security-minded individuals who are constantly vigilant and proactive in protecting their organization's assets.
That's a powerful image.
It is, and it brings us back to that key takeaway from the Best Practices for Automating Security Operations Workflows white paper.
Okay, which is?
We need to rethink our security workflows from an automation-first perspective.
So not just trying to automate our existing manual processes,
right,
but actually designing our workflows with automation in mind from the very beginning.
Exactly. It's about building a more efficient, effective, and ultimately more human-centric approach to security.
Where automation empowers people, not replaces them.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way to put it.
And it's something that every organization, no matter their size or industry, should be thinking about.
Absolutely. It's the future of security.
The future of security. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this section. We've talked about analyst burnout, democratizing security, the importance of the human element, and rethinking our workflows.
A lot of important stuff.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and explore some of the specific insights and recommendations from the remaining sources we have here.
Okay, sounds good.
What stood out to you as we were going through those articles and white papers?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me from the Cybersecurity Automation Key Benefits and Best Practices article was how much automation can reduce the number of security events that actually need, like, a human to look at them.
Oh, yeah, that's huge, especially for security teams that are already, like, swamped
Totally. They're drowning in alerts.
Exactly. So you're saying that automation can help them focus on the real threats instead of chasing down all those false positives.
Exactly. It frees up their time and brain power for the stuff that really matters.
And on the business side, the article talks about how automation can lower the overall cost of cybersecurity.
Yeah, which is music to any CFO's ears.
For sure. It's like getting a return on investment for your security spending.
Exactly, because when you automate tasks, you're freeing up your team to focus on more strategic work, which saves the organization money in the long run.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Another benefit that really caught my eye was reducing the number of insecure or non-compliant endpoints.
Especially with all the IoT devices out there, that's a major headache for organizations.
It's like you can't have someone manually checking every single device for vulnerabilities. It's just not feasible.
Nope, not anymore. Automation is key here.
So it's like having a virtual security guard for each device, making sure they're all properly configured and patched.
Exactly. It's like having an army of tiny robots working behind the scenes to keep everything secure.
I like that, an army of tiny robots.
And speaking of patching, the article also talks about how automation can speed up the containment of infected endpoints.
Oh, yeah, that's critical when you're dealing with a fast-spreading malware outbreak.
Totally, like every second counts.
Exactly. And automated systems can isolate infected devices almost instantly, preventing the spread and limiting the damage.
It's like containing a wildfire before it spreads out of control.
Okay, now let's talk about threat intelligence for a minute.
Okay, yeah.
The article really emphasizes how security automation can provide in-depth knowledge about current threats.
It's like having a super-powered threat intelligence platform that's constantly gathering and analyzing data from all over the place.
So instead of relying on manual research, automated systems can give you real-time insights into what the attackers are up to.
Exactly. It's like having a crystal ball that shows you what the attackers are planning next.
Okay, maybe not a crystal ball, but you get the idea.
It's about being proactive and staying one step ahead of those cybercriminals.
All right, so we've talked about some of the high-level benefits of automation, but let's dive into some more specific use cases.
Okay, sounds good.
The Enabling Automation in Security Operations white paper had some great examples.
Yeah, they really emphasize the importance of not just automating existing processes, but actually rethinking those processes with an automation-first mindset.
So it's not just about making things faster. It's about designing workflows that are optimized for automation from the ground up.
Exactly. It's a whole different way of thinking about things.
So what kind of specific use cases did they highlight?
Well, they talked about the importance of triage and prioritization, making sure that security analysts are focusing on the most critical threats first.
It's like having an AI-powered assistant that sorts through all the noise and highlights the things that really matter.
Exactly. It helps analysts cut through the clutter and focus on the real threats.
They also talked about identifying situations where a fully automated response is appropriate.
Right, because sometimes speed is key, and waiting for a human to make a decision could be disastrous.
So it's about giving those automated systems the authority to act decisively when necessary.
Exactly. It's about trusting the technology to do its job.
Okay, now let's look at the security automation article from CrowdStrike.
Okay. What did they have to say?
They focused on using automation to establish a strong first line of defense in the Security Operations Center.
The SOC, that's where it all happens.
Exactly. And by automating tasks like threat intelligence analysis and vulnerability scanning, you can create a much more efficient and effective SOC.
It's like having an army of virtual security analysts working 24/7 to protect your organization.
I like that, an army of virtual analysts.
Always on guard, never sleeping.
They also highlighted the importance of automating security testing within the CI/CD lifecycle.
Yeah, shifting security left and integrating it into the development process is so important.
Totally. It's much easier and cheaper to fix security flaws early on before they make it into production.
Exactly. It's like catching a bug before it spreads.
And let's not forget about endpoint security. CrowdStrike also emphasized the importance of intelligent automation for managing and securing all those endpoints.
Yeah, with so many devices connecting to corporate networks these days, manual management is just not scalable.
So automation can streamline tasks like endpoint scans, patch management, and software updates, ensuring that all devices are protected no matter where they are.
It's like having a virtual security blanket covering all your endpoints, keeping them safe from harm.
Okay, now let's turn our attention to the security automation article from Sentinel.
All right, what did they focus on?
They provided a great overview of how automation can enhance threat detection and response.
Oh, that's a big one. How did they approach it?
Well, they highlighted the importance of prompt action when an attack is imminent and how automation can enable a much faster incident response.
It's like having a rapid response team that's on standby 24/7, ready to jump into action at a moment's notice.
Exactly. It's about minimizing the dwell time, that time between when an attack happens and when you actually detect and respond to it.
So, less time for the attackers to do damage.
Exactly. They also talked about automating threat monitoring and managing access permissions.
Access control is huge. Automating that can significantly reduce the risk of unauthorized access to sensitive data.
It's like having a highly trained security guard at every door, making sure that only the right people get in.
They also discussed data enrichment, using automation to add more context and intelligence to security data.
Yeah, that can really help security teams make faster and more informed decisions about how to respond to threats.
It's like having a team of analysts working behind the scenes, analyzing data and providing you with actionable insights.
And finally, they emphasize the importance of security automation for business continuity.
Right, because it's not just about preventing attacks, it's also about making sure that you can recover quickly if an attack does happen.
Exactly. It's about making sure that critical business functions can keep operating even in the face of a cyber attack.
By automating incident response processes, organizations can bounce back much faster and minimize the impact on their operations.
Okay, now let's take a quick look at the Mastering SOC Automation in 2024 article.
Okay, what were their key takeaways?
Well, they really highlighted the challenges that security teams are facing with the sheer volume of security alerts these days.
Yeah, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly. Security teams are drowning in alerts, and it's becoming almost impossible to separate the real threats from the noise.
So what's the solution?
The article emphasized the need for autonomous SOC tools that can intelligently triage those alerts, escalating only the most critical ones to human analysts.
So it's about using AI and machine learning to automate the initial stages of incident response.
Exactly. Freeing up those human analysts to focus on the tasks that require their expertise.
Makes sense. Let the machines do the heavy lifting.
They also discussed the importance of integrating those autonomous SOC tools with VESO platforms to create a closed-loop system.
Oh, yeah. So you can not only triage alerts, but also automatically respond to them based on predefined playbooks.
Exactly. It's about taking automation to the next level, creating a more efficient and effective SOC that can keep pace with the evolving threat landscape.
So it's all about automation, automation, automation.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, well, speaking of automation, let's circle back to those continuous automated red teaming articles from Fire Compass and IBM.
Oh, yeah, those were really interesting.
They really highlighted the value of moving beyond those periodic security assessments.
Right, like once a year penetration testing.
Exactly, and embracing a more continuous and proactive approach to threat hunting.
It's like having a constant stream of simulated attacks, helping you identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses before the real attackers can exploit them.
Exactly. It's about staying one step ahead of the bad guys.
The articles emphasized how CART can improve security posture, reduce costs, and provide real-time intelligence on an organization's defenses.
It's a powerful tool that can help organizations of all sizes stay ahead of the curve in cybersecurity.
Okay, now let's wrap things up with some practical advice on implementing security automation.
Okay, where should we look for that?
The Security Automation Best Practices white paper from Rapid7 has some great tips.
All right, what do they recommend?
Well, they emphasize the importance of having a clear strategy in place before you start automating everything in sight.
Right. It's not just about automating for the sake of automating. It's about having a plan.
Exactly. It's like having a roadmap for your automation journey, ensuring that your efforts are aligned with your overall security goals.
They also provide guidance on choosing the right automation solutions, whether you're building your own or buying a commercial product.
Yeah, there are a lot of options out there. It can be overwhelming.
Definitely. And they stress the importance of selecting a reputable security partner if you're going the commercial route, someone you can trust to provide ongoing support and guidance.
And they offer practical tips on identifying tasks that are ideal for automation, like those repetitive, time-consuming tasks that don't require human judgment.
Right. It's about working smarter, not harder, leveraging automation to free up your team for more strategic work.
And finally, they emphasize the importance of testing those automation workflows thoroughly before you unleash them on the entire organization.
Yeah, you don't want to create more problems than you solve.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that your automations are working as intended and that they're not going to cause any unintended consequences.
It's like taking your automations for a test drive before hitting the open road.
All right, so let's bring it all together. We've explored the incredible power and potential of security automation, from streamlining operations and reducing costs to enhancing threat detection, response, and compliance.
We've covered a lot of ground. It's been a great discussion.
It has. And we've seen how automation can empower security professionals, foster a culture of security awareness, and ultimately help us build a more resilient and secure digital world.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be in cybersecurity.
It is, and as we conclude this deep dive into the world of security automation, remember that this is just the beginning.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. This field is constantly evolving, and it's up to each of us to stay informed, embrace innovation, and continuously adapt our approach to stay ahead of the curve.
So keep learning, keep experimenting, keep pushing the boundaries.
And most importantly, let's remember that security is not just about technology or compliance.
It's about protecting the things that matter most to us, our data, our privacy, our digital lives.
So go forth, armed with the knowledge and insights you've gained from this deep dive, and be a champion for security in your organization and beyond.
And be sure to check out the show notes for links to all those fantastic resources we discussed today.
We hope this deep dive has been informative, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit entertaining.
Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep automating.
Keep automating.